Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Abington School Committee meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, May 25th. At this time, I'd ask everybody to please stand for our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. So getting into the agenda tonight, we will first approve the recent minutes and starting with May 2021. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve once it's been reviewed.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And the April 27, 2021 minutes, we need to make a motion to approve those as well.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And the next are the minutes from April 26th, 2021. We just need to make a motion to approve those as well.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So next on the agenda is the consideration of a salary increase for the superintendent of schools. So we had an executive session to speak about this, and we're going to try to stay in line with the teachers, and we did a 1-year salary increase for them. The recommended action tonight is, excuse me, a motion to approve a 2% salary increase with a $2,722 market adjustment for FY22 for the superintendent of schools. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions, but I think just so people know, I mean, the market adjustment just puts them in line. We had a list. We were looking at all of the superintendents in the surrounding communities, and this puts them in line, particularly with his 14 years of experience, which none of the other ones had in the area, and that's why that's on there in addition to the 2% to match the teachers.
Great point, Chris. Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for all you do, Peter. We appreciate it. So we have the principal's report next. Jonathan Bourne from Abington High School with proposed revisions to the 2021-2022 Abington High School Student Handbook.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to present this. I believe you would have a memo in your possession from my assistant principal, Jessie Clements. She sends her regrets. She's home with her daughter, recovering from a scheduled surgery. Everything went well. So she wanted to be here, and we told her, nope, you got to be a mom today. So I'm happy to do this today. So all of the proposed changes you have in front of you were approved unanimously by our school council at our last meeting on May 13th. But I wanted to go through them item by item in case there are any questions of the school committee.
Jonathan or
yes.
Wendy, do we need to approve each one individually, or do we do them all at once?
You should be able to do them all at once as changes to the updated handbook.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you,
You can
Superintendent.
certainly consider them individually if you'd like.
Okay, no, it's fine. I just didn't know. Thanks.
But if there's a problem somewhere along the way, that might be something that would make,
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Good point there. So item 1, this is kind of a housekeeping item, but since it's a potential impact for students, just again, back to my assistant principal, her math background, never stops doing her math. Just updated the metrics on the number of days required for our attendance policy, which we anticipate to go back into effect. Our rationale there is that our attendance and loss of credits happened with 3 unexcused absences. So that was existing language said 83 and 166. If you do the math on a 90-day term, quarter is 3 days, 6 days, so that's 84 days per semester, 168 per year. Okay. Item number 2, 18-year-old rights. We had a couple circumstances this year with students who are 18 years old, and after talking to our legal representation, they recommended that we add the language under proposed language in our handbook, and you could see that as listed there. Generally speaking, when our lawyers say you should add this to our handbook, we agree. But if there are any questions on that component, let us know about that, because functionally what it does is it allows an 18-year-old student to ask to basically be fairly independent with their paperwork. So,
Jonathan, can I ask a quick question?
of course.
I get the 18-year-old one, but what's all, and if you can maybe explain, what's the 14 years of age or 9th grade? What does that part of it mean?
I think this is taken a lot from Mass General Laws. Those are the citations of 23.01 and 23.01 Part 2. This language came directly from our attorney, who just has a lot of work on this and recommends that. So my understanding of the 14 to 17-year-old piece is, as our students age and become adults, they also tend to share privileged information that wouldn't necessarily be disclosed to parents. So I think it just speaks to that, but that's frankly just language added at the attorney's recommendation. And Chris, I don't know if that answers your question. So,
I mean, is it saying a 14-year-old can decide to pull out of school on their own without their parents' consent? I doubt the law says that, but maybe,
no.
Maybe it does. Peter, John, was Joe Emerson the lawyer that we're talking about? Okay.
No, it's a different attorney, so.
I mean, I don't know, I'm just reading, it says, is all the rights listed above are now would be allowed for 14-year-olds. Is that how, am I reading it incorrectly, or please somebody jump in if I am?
Yeah, no, if you give me a minute, Chris, on this.
Chris, I'm reading it as a student from 14 to 17. They have the right to ask for certain things, but a parent also has the right to do the same. Whereas at the age of 18, the student has the ability to act independently of another adult.
This is kind of, I mean, so it says this, right, so your point, Heidi, it can be the student or the parent, so the or means you don't need the parent.
But I think,
So I think maybe to answer your question, Chris, directly about withdrawing to school, we as a matter of school practice require a parent meeting and just a meeting before any student unenrolls from school before they're 18 or before they're graduated, if that helps. Students can, to my knowledge, when they're 16, for example, withdraw from school without their parents' permission legally. We still force that parent meeting because obviously the importance of that decision. But I would agree with Heidi after looking at it. It's basically language to say that just because a student isn't 18, that they don't have a say in their education. Right. So decisions about course selections, for example.
That one makes sense to me. Like
Right.
that wasn't one. It was the third one. I mean, the fourth one about withdrawal from school was the
Absolutely.
one that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think as a matter of practice, it is rare to the point where I can count on 2 fingers, I think, the number of students that exercise these rights without a parent, even if they are 18.
And John, like a freshman can't sign themselves out for like early dismissal, right? Okay. All right.
Nope.
Thanks.
Yeah,
right.
we absolutely. Thank you for that, Chris. Yeah. But I think it was, to Heidi's point, kind of a more inclusive language to say that, you know, just because a kid isn't 18, that they don't have like 9th graders are asked to attend IEP meetings, for example, right?
Nope,
Starting in the 9th grade as a matter of course, right?
I think it was the phrase "or either one acting alone" that confused me.
Fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Any other questions on item 2? Okay, just going to move on to item 3. And this is a housekeeping piece to bring the current handbook language in line with the program of studies language, which was, if this body recall, approved earlier this winter. So just looking at what is in the handbook that is being removed are the last 2 bullets under graduation requirements: digital literacy and computer science. That was removed just because the school was not able to require or schedule each kids in those 2.5 credits. Many of our students do take computer science classes, but we're not at the place to say they have to graduate. And the technology and engineering, it used to be the case where every freshman was enrolled in technology and engineering, but the decision was made, I think about 2 years ago, that every freshman would be enrolled in health. And also the teacher who taught the tech ed classes got shifted to pick up other science classes. If I'm honest, I'm not sure why that hadn't been updated till now. Sometimes these things get missed. We just in our read to bring it current with the program of studies. Any questions on item 3? Item 4 is just updating our language to match the state requirements for competency determination for the new testing. The language was set at 1999, and this is just more current with the next generation tests that are no longer paper and pencil. So the score thresholds will change to match this, and you can see the citation for the state website on where to find that. I will say I think it changes one more time between now and 2023 just because of the competency determination shifts we've had, for example, with the current juniors who did not take or pass an English or a math MCAS. And then after that class graduates, it will revert to potentially a static competency determination score once our current sophomores or seniors and future kids are taking MCAS. So this is at current to 2021, and it will change one more time and did not have to change after that. So just a heads up there. Moving on to item number 5.
Jonathan, can I ask you a quick question? Just because you spoke about MCAS, there have been some parents that have been questioning. So 10th grade, you have to take MCAS to graduate. Do you have to take the 9th grade science portion to graduate as well?
So for the current sophomores, they do not need to take the 9th grade biology test.
Okay.
The current 9th graders do need to take and pass the biology or another science test as part of their competency determination, in addition to English and math.
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Yep. Any questions, other questions on item number 4? All right. Item number 5, AP testing. If you compare the existing language to the proposed language, the shift is that the AP test is available for students who take the course. The language read that it could have been taken at large. And so it's just a recommendation, obviously, that the students take the conjoining prep course in order to take the exam. Any questions on item 5?
I just have a question, not necessarily about this, but AP in general. Do Abington students, in order to get the AP designation on their transcript, do they have to, if they enroll in an AP course, are they required to take the AP exam at the end of the year?
No, we do not change the student's transcript whether or not they take the course. So if they sign up for AP biology and for whatever reason don't take the exam, they still have AP biology on their transcript. That's not standard, and I think, Danielle, you're asking because like not every high school does that the same exact way. So that is the way Abington has decided to do it. And I support that, to be honest with you. So just on a personal, professional stance. So.
And is there funding, just curious, for students who aren't able to afford the test? Do we provide funding for that?
Yes and no. We locally don't provide funding, to the best of my knowledge, outside of if the town or a group in town wanted to provide funding for that. The College Board, and it's Byzantine, so I apologize in advance for my eye rolls. But the College Board does allow for some fee reductions depending on if students are on free or reduced lunch. Typically, this year I think they were much, more open, given the obvious changes that happened this year. But there are access opportunities to reduce the cost for kids that want it. And we try our best to make sure any kid who wants to take the tests is able to. We have enough helpful folks that can chip in, but so there isn't like a budgeted line item, to be honest, but the community finds a way.
Not that I am necessarily endorsing AP, there's a lot that I have, a lot of feelings on that, but just curious, at some point, could I maybe just see for the number of kids that we have take the courses, how many kids actually take the exam at the end of the year?
Yeah, I can get that data for you. We are in the midst of testing right now. And it's a much more open testing window. It's usually confined to 2 weeks in May, and I don't think we'll be done testing until June 7th. But I can get that data for you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment to scribble a sticky note to Ms. Grafton, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Wish I invented sticky notes.
Romy and Michelle did, so. Anyone get that? Thank you. Okay. One of my wife's favorite movies. So, all right. Last item, number 6, dress code. Functionally, it's a deletion of one component of the current language. What it is this actually came from our staff, as well as we've heard this routinely for a number of students, that particular item in the dress code overwhelmingly impacted our female students. We still have conversations with students about professional attire, so I don't want people to think it's like, wide open or like South Beach at the school. But it is something that truthfully is just a change in fashion. And many students wear shirts that don't adequately cover the torso, and it's fine. So just to make that recommendation, and I think if there were concerns about how the staff feel, again, this came from our staff as a recommendation to modify the dress code. So.
Thank you for that. This is a great, as a mother of 3 teenage girls, I endorse this because I hear a lot from them how unfair they feel it is. So I think this is a really great change.
Thank you. Yeah, we agree. Yep.
Agreed. We're having the discussions at the middle school level too.
That is it for the items that were the substantive changes to the handbook. There's one more, but it's a more of a global change, and it shouldn't be, it transitions to the vision of the graduate. So if it's the will of the committee, I can speak to that, or if they would like to approve, I'm not sure parliamentary wise what the next step is, but.
So
yeah, go ahead.
The committee could either consider it tonight, or if you wanted more time, wait till June. It's up to the pleasure of the committee.
I can go tonight. How does everybody else feel? I think that we've had these, I've had the difference, the changes. Has everybody had enough time to look them over? And
yeah, Wendy, I'm good with it. And
number one,
I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. But Jonathan, Peter, if you could just maybe just help clarify in non-legal terms what exactly, I think you know where I was getting at anyway. And like, it's more like I said, that phrase about either one acting alone, what that really means, if you don't mind. If it's legal recommendation, I trust it's fine, but I'd just like to know.
We have more sticky notes.
All right, thank you.
To Chris's point, I feel like the first maybe 3 bullet points are the ones that kind of would be more appropriate for the younger grade levels, and it's the second half that's a little bit more.
If it was the first 3 hot, I wouldn't even brought it up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can certainly research that.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
so we'll circle back then in June?
No, I'm good. No, I'm not gonna, Wendy, if it's legal recommendation, if it comes back where it was worded wrong, we can fix it the next time. So I don't want to hold it up, but I would just like some clarity on it. That's all.
Absolutely. Okay, so if everyone else is comfortable, then we can make a vote in, so we could do a motion to approve. Hold on, sorry, excuse me. A motion to approve the revisions to the 2021-2022 Abington High School Student Handbook as presented. However, if it needs to be amended on the first item,
Second item.
we'll hear
I
back
think it
from
was.
you in
Whatever it
June.
was, the one with the legal recommendation.
Item number 2.
Yeah.
Two, excuse me, I'm sorry, 2, thank you.
So the motion could just be to approve it as presented. And then, we will commit to you that if the answer that comes back is not satisfactory, we'll bring it back again in June.
Okay.
And this isn't for next year anyway.
Okay. That
Okay.
works.
Till next year anyway. So does that work?
Yes,
For me, it does.
okay. So would anyone like to make a motion to approve the revisions to the high school handbook as presented?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Coyle, I just a tip of the cap to Dr. Michelle, who provided the preamble to that legal chapter, which, if you don't mind, I read. So 603 CMR 23 is promulgated to ensure parents and students' rights of confidentiality, inspection, amendment, and destruction of student records, and to assist local school systems in adhering to the law. 603 CMR 23 should be liberally construed for these purposes, and that's when those bullets, the numbers come in. So as I mentioned, what it is there are circumstances, for example, in that, and Dr. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, relates to like records law. So that, what you as a parent can inspect about your student's record, there still is, as a student matures and what the state defined between 14 and 17, certain items that a student might disclose to a counselor, for example, that can still remain confidential. I think the best case in point that if a student confides to a counselor that they identify as gay or homosexual, but aren't comfortable or don't feel that they have a home situation that would be supportive of that, this allows that to remain confidential for that student, where that is not a required piece to be shared with parents. So
Okay.
just to put that into a general context, but your point is very well taken. And I hope it helps people know that we never let kids just drop out. We always force a meeting no matter the age. So,
Okay.
Thank you. If I could transition to the vision of the graduate, that would be the next, and related to the handbook. The handbook does have in it existing language, as the program of studies did this winter, about the mission statement. And so the vision of the graduate would replace the mission statement in a lot of the connected rubrics that would be in the handbook, to be replaced with the 3 slides that were presented to you in PDF, the graphic, the overview, and the description of each of the 4 categories, as well as the descriptions of what students can do, also known as can do descriptors. So this will become, in general, just a more prominent document. I think you've heard me say that a few times throughout the year. So where in the handbook the mission would be currently existing, this would be replacing that. So I just wanted to share that, and also that it will be a major focal point of work for the high school, and I think district-wide ahead. So any questions in the vision of the graduate? And Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Groom, I just think being new to the committee, I think the other members would have heard that, but thank you again for just taking a look at that. That will be something, like I said, we hope to be the cornerstone of a lot of our work. And last but not least, just to provide some updates to the committee on senior activities. I would like to thank, well, she's going to get mad at me, but I have to thank Ms. Kelleher, who has been outstanding at adapting to all these changes. I'd like to thank the senior class, who has been phenomenal. They had, a very difficult year, probably not the senior year that they planned, but we've been fortunate and able to get a lot of events in. The weather has been extremely cooperative and fantastic, and we hope for a little bit more good weather next week. As you're all probably aware, and I believe it was actually at the last meeting, that the state was going to change the requirements right then and there, and so that has worked its way through DESE, and that has allowed us to contemplate and enact some important changes to the remaining senior events. So tomorrow, starting kind of in chronological order, we will have our seniors' last day. The big change there is a lot of the students and community had asked to do a driving tour of the other schools that we honestly didn't have the capacity to do as a school system. But the Abington Police Department has offered to take the kids on a tour. So they will do a couple laps of the boulevard tomorrow afternoon and then safely drive to their other schools led by Abington Police. And so we appreciate, again, the community and the Abington Police cooperation with that. We also anticipate the students will get their yearbooks tomorrow, which was delayed, but it will be before graduation, which is really fantastic. And really the outdoor mask piece has allowed the dropping of the outdoor masks and the good weather has allowed these students to have something approaching like a normal festive senior year environment, which is fantastic. I do need to confess, they asked me to join the dunk tank and I declined. So I wasn't that good of a sport. So I feel like I could get dunked and then Peter would say, Channel 5 is here. Can you talk to him real quick? And so that maybe not me, but Mr. Cutter, the senior class advisor, was a good sport and went into the dunk tank for that senior activity. So any senior parents that are watching at home, please make sure your senior has their computer, their laptop bag, their charging cable tomorrow. If they don't have it tomorrow, they won't be able to get their cap and gown tomorrow. We will get it to them, but we need the computer first. And I think Mr. Bykowski would give us a hearty hear on that. Also wanted to thank the senior parents who have been phenomenal at rallying resources and breakfasts and being there and ideas and advice. They'll be doing a cookout tomorrow. And so just a tremendous thank you to the seniors of indication of what it's like to work in a community that really rallies and pulls together nicely for that. Moving things along, this is a small little byline in my latest update, but because of the mask update, as we read it and understand it, students do not need to wear masks outdoor at prom because of the way we've set up. We are outdoors and we will only have 2 sides up of our tent. It still qualifies as an outdoor space unless I've read that totally wrong. So that's great news. So I think we get to do pictures for kids and they're very excited about that. Another big update was with graduation. So with the mask component, we are able to expand access to our graduation. So we will still have it on the front lawn. Frankly, the rules might change between now and then, but we kind of are at a point where we need to put our seats down and make our plans and start delivering on the logistics. We're going to maintain the practice of the graduate with their 2 family members or 2 household members sitting next to them. The positive change is we are allowing up to 4 additional guests per graduate to attend. So it would be a graduate plus 2 sitting on either side, plus 4 family members, whoever that might be, if they want to come to the high school, and we'll have a open area for them to either stand or if they bring a lawn chair or something to sit, and we'll have it marked off so they know what areas are open to them. Those family members do need to register. We can't just have it be wide open. According to our rules from DESE, they do need to register, and that link was sent out with an attestation form saying that if they don't feel well, they won't attend the event that day. And a big thank you to Abington Cam, who will still live broadcast in case there are families that still decide it's best for family members to watch from home. So those are the big changes to the senior events. Any questions?
Congratulations. That's awesome. They get to do a lot more.
It was honestly, thank you, Chris. It's phenomenal. This is such an amazing senior class, great class officers, great kids. They dabbled with a prank. They understood it. Tip of the cap. They cleaned up.
I heard about
it. What did they do with all the forks?
Unfortunately, and I gave them a little bit of a finger wag for their non-sustainability of their prank. The forks had to get disposed of. I mean, they're all poked into the ground, so they were champs, and they cleaned up something in the neighborhood of 6,000 forks from our campus. So
I won't lie, I've never laughed so hard at a school drop-off in my life.
They asked me if I was laughing. I said, let me just inform you. I pulled up to the school at 6:30 in the morning. You think I was laughing when I saw that? But no, they were great, like saying, yeah, we get it. We'll fix it. We'll take care of it. And, at the end, they're like, geez, if we knew we had to pick it up, we wouldn't have done it. And I said, all right, well.
Pass that on.
how this works. So fantastic senior class. They've had a privilege to leave 10 minutes early every day. They handled that expertly. No one took advantage of that. The kids are great leaving. They're cooperative. So just a great senior class. So
This is great. Thank you, Jonathan. Congratulations to everybody.
thank you.
To hear everybody getting back in the swing of things, to a little bit of normalcy.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
So next up we have Chris Basta for from the Beaver Brook Elementary School to updates on the pandemic recovery and student expectations.
Good evening, everybody. In any year, transitions between grade levels in schools can produce a range of emotions, including excitement and anxiety. We know that this coming fall will be more challenging for many preschool to grade 12 students, families, and staff. So as the district begins to plan to support students academically in the fall, we are also developing plans to support the social and emotional transition for our students. Dr. Fedorowicz, Dr. Robbins, and I are currently gathering information on behalf of the entire administration to determine what we are already doing well and what we can improve to foster smoother transitions for students and families and staff. Parents will have an opportunity to share their perspective in the coming weeks. This is about what we are expecting for student independence as they move up through the grades. We are surveying staff, and we're also having teacher teams meet vertically between grade levels at critical transition points, including AEP to kindergarten, grade 2 to grade 3, grade 4 to grade 5, grade 6 to grade 7, and grade 8 to grade 9. This information gathered from the surveys and these vertical articulation meetings will help guide our work. We all want our students to be independent and successful individuals. We're focused now on how we best build that with families over their years in the Abington schools, both post-pandemic and moving forward. We have limited time left in this school year for this work, obviously, so this will be an ongoing effort. In the short term, we hope to come up with best practices and expectations that we can align between grade levels, and in the long term, this work may help inform a district-wide vision of the graduate that Mr. Bourne was talking about for all of our students as they move through the district from AEP on up to Abington High School. So on behalf of Dr. Fedorowicz and Dr. Robbins, I would like to thank all of the staff in each school, the building administrators, central office administrators, the school committee, and the community for supporting this important effort. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have, and Dr. Fedorowicz and Dr. Robbins might chime in if needed also.
Anyone have any questions? Chris?
Dr. Boss, a quick one. Do you have you, I guess, I don't know when exactly a lot of the conversations or questions may have taken place. Is there any kind of, have you had a chance to look anything over? Is there anything that may stick out to you that can be improved upon, or that's working really well? Maybe one transition can borrow from another kind of transition. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a little early in our data gathering for that. The survey that we had staff complete was done last week, and we had our first set of transition meetings today. I think one of the things that we are looking for is exactly that. What are we doing well in certain transitions that we can generalize to other transitions? And part of our discussions are also focusing on how do we communicate with families what the expectations are and what supports are there at each transition point, right? Because that's part of what's happening, not only as a student transitioning from one school to another, but in most cases when it's an oldest or an only child, the entire family is transitioning to that new school. And so, you know, what you become accustomed to in one school may be different for a purpose, but if we don't communicate that, it leaves sometimes the family feeling like someone's dropping the ball somewhere. So we don't really have any generalizations yet, but our goal is at the June school committee meeting to be able to give you sort of an executive bird's eye summary of where we are right now.
Okay, you just read my mind on the follow-up, so thank you. I mean, I know it could take time, so if it wasn't even June, it could be September. I know you said it's ongoing, but that'd be great in June to get some ideas of what you're seeing. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking this on with Dr. Fedorowicz and Dr. Robbins.
You're welcome.
I couldn't agree more because, just seeing the transitions and like having the communication from each school just move on with the kids, I think is awesome. So it's good to see this. Thank you to everybody.
At the last meeting, we talked a lot about summer programming and the things we were doing. So there isn't any one thing we're doing around the pandemic recovery piece. There's a lot of things that we're doing. And so this is one of those things. And even if it wasn't for a pandemic, this isn't bad work to do anyway. This is what we should be doing.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody involved in this. So the next is the report of the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for an overview of the State Seal of Biliteracy and STAMP.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to provide you with a very quick, brief update on the progress from our STAMP test, which is toward attaining the State Seal of Biliteracy for our students, our bilingual students, particularly seniors. And we were really excited to have offered the STAMP assessment, which is one of the criteria needed to attain the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy. And students that meet the eligibility requirements demonstrate a high level of proficiency in both English and a second language. So we had 43 high school students take the STAMP assessment, which was offered in 4 different languages: Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Russian. And we're still waiting for the final results. And we should have them in later this week. And I really want to thank the world language teachers and the English language teachers for all their help and all of their hard work, particularly with rolling this out, with proctoring, the students for taking the initial tests and any of the retakes as well. I mean, their help is truly appreciated. And we're looking forward to continuing this in years to come as well. So any questions?
Did we have someone in fact take it in more than one language?
We did, actually. We had a few students take both Spanish and Portuguese. Okay. So they we're waiting for the results, but there are going to be some students I think that might have 3 languages: English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So that's really exciting.
That is absolutely incredible. Yeah. So a shout out right here to anyone who took the test, who tried, everyone who helped them prepare, and a shout out to the families who supported multiple languages in one go. It's a commitment, and it's not always easy, but it's incredible that we have kids who are able to do this.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Mr. Bourne and Mrs. Clements too, because they really helped to kind of finagle the schedule so that the kids were able to take this in such a rapid amount of time. So thank you. I can segue right into PD if there are no more questions. Okay, great. All right, so just a quick overview of professional development for next year. We're basically looking at some overarching themes, 3 to be exact, which include bias, racism, and race. Also, we're looking at expectations for vision of the graduate by grade level and by school. And this is what, this is kind of the continuation of the transition activities that Dr. Basta just presented. And then last is closing the learning gaps from this past year. So those are kind of our 3 main themes, but I always send out a survey to staff as well to get teacher voice on what professional development they might want as well. So a survey went out last week to teachers and support personnel to get their feedback for next year. And although this survey is still open, I'm starting to see a pattern for high interest in grade level or subject specific professional development that's just beginning to emerge over time here. And then what I'll do is over the summer, take a look at all of these and put a PD plan together with a timeline based on the calendar and pull in all the overarching themes, building specific themes, and some of what the teachers wanted to do as well. So it's a coordinated effort, and just a special thanks to the principals and the department heads, directors, and curriculum coordinators, and also the teachers for their feedback and their input, especially when we roll this out. So that's what we're going to be looking forward to next year.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, Sherry, you labeled everything perfectly and did a good job of this. So when I make the statement, I don't want you to feel like you didn't. But we always forget to mention this. We also have educators who, or by department, who will go to different conferences,
right, depending
on their individual needs. And we always forget to mention that. So you covered everything, but I remembered this time. So.
Thank you, Sherry. We appreciate the update. Anyone have any questions? Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have the report of the superintendent of schools.
So I should just do a quick explanation of why we're meeting remotely. I think we always talk about that, and the community always, sometimes ask. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is our last remote meeting. We decided to do it this way because this is the way to provide the best communication. When we're all up on the stage wearing masks, the community has trouble hearing us. We have trouble hearing each other, and this provides more information for our meetings because of the improved communications, just the clarity. So hopefully this will be our last one. Under my section, I have one thing, and it's included in your packet. I've got more than one. The first thing I have is a request from the Coombs Foundation and Christy Coombs for permission to have a beer tent for the Coombs road race held on September 19th. I'm gonna recommend to the committee in a moment. I'll explain why that you approve this. Actually, I haven't in the past recommended approval of things like this over the years because they didn't make sense for us to have alcohol at an event at a schoolhouse. But this one's different. This is a road race. This is more. It's outdoors. It's the events in the past have been more around dinners in the school with students involved. Students aren't involved necessarily in being in the beer tent. And a road race is a different environment than a dinner with people's children around at a schoolhouse. So Christy has provided a memo on the things that she would do to ensure it was run appropriately. Under Mass General laws, this requires both the Board of Selectmen and the school committee to allow for it to occur. And the Coombs Foundation has a history with us. They've been such a good friend of ours and supported us, but they've also been very, very responsible at every turn with every road race that they've run and the way that it's organized. And so I have every confidence in the world that Christy would be making sure that this went off in a way that wouldn't be inappropriate or embarrass anyone, or that there wouldn't be a problem. So for those reasons, I'm asking the committee to consider it. I'll answer any questions you have, and then I'd recommend approval.
Yeah, Peter, I think I'm for the last reason that you stated too, if nothing else, for everything that the foundation's done for not only the schools, but all residents galore all over town. Can't thank them enough. I guess the only thing whenever the decision's made, I just don't see Mr. Hawes on here, as long as just make sure he knows about it.
That was my question. Is Jonathan Hawes good with this?
He knows, he's good with it. I talked with him about it as Christy made the request.
I don't have any questions, just I'm hoping that there will be a huge turnout. It is a fabulous event, and I am hoping that everybody puts that date on their calendar.
Agreed.
Watch, you don't have to run. So, right.
Sure, you do not have to run.
I've
A
walked
lot
it with
of
my
us just
family for
walk
years.
too.
Yep.
I'm a walker.
I am too.
Always
Come
fun.
walk with me.
I will definitely.
All right, so this is great. So would anyone like to make a motion to grant permission to add beer to the 20th annual and grand finale of the Jeff Coombs Memorial Road Race Walk and Family Day on September 19th, 2021 as presented?
I will make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My next item is the consideration of the school calendar for next year. Committee's seen this a couple of times. We've done our best to put together the days and the dates that are consistent with the annual calendar. Something to note that's interesting in this coming year is the February break doesn't occur till the 21st.
Late.
And the reason for that is that's President's Day is the 21st, and that's the first day of that. So that'll be consistent across most systems. We'll have to make that move. Answer any questions people have, and when the committee's ready, I'd ask that you consider it, just because we'd like to get this out to our families, because people are starting to plan trips and things, and that's kind of exciting, and so they want to know this stuff.
Peter, it's the same thing we saw last month, right? There were no changes made to it from last month.
Don't think we had any changes from last month, no.
Okay.
But if I'm wrong, somebody tell me.
As an element, oh, go ahead, Heidi.
It might also be worth noting something different on the calendar this year is the inclusion of Juneteenth, which a lot of
Gonna
people
say that,
are not familiar with.
Great.
That is there.
I'm
Yep.
so excited to see it on there.
So if this question has come up, I just want to put it out there. There are many people who misinterpret this calendar because we do put in that June 24th would be the tentative last day of school, and that includes 5 snow days. So Peter, I was just wondering if you can just give a quick explanation of what that really means, including 5 snow days. People get that wrong all the time.
We always include those 5 snow days, which I think there's only one year that I can remember that we had more than that, so that people don't make plans within that time period. And so if we don't have 5 snow days, you would subtract those away from this. But right out of the gate, we include those 5 snow days so that people don't go to Disney World on one of the last 5 days of school, depending on how much snow we have. Well, that's what we're trying to do.
So not to have people book those trips, but for people who are calculating that, it's safe to say that without those 5 snow days, the last day of school is June 13th, and then we add on a snow day for each one that we have.
Correct. And you can blame me for snow days if you want.
Peter, can I stop you for a second? Can I stop you for a second? I think it's June 16th.
It'd be 16.
Because it goes, the 24th is listed as the last day of school.
I apologize.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the 20th because of Juneteenth. Yep.
Yep, 16.
I did the same thing, Danielle.
And is there a tentative day? I don't know if this usually goes on the calendar or not. Obviously, I'm new for like graduation and last day for seniors, or is that decided later in the year?
There'll be a high school calendar that'll be published for that, and then other things across the district. So, and then, Danielle, I did the same thing you did. I looked at the 20th and went back 5 days instead of the 24th. I'm glad you guys caught that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I didn't want you to go too far with that date out there. The only thing I'm going to say is, as a parent of of elementary school, I want to thank you for November 1st of not having the kids go to school after the night before. So thank you. One less thing I got to deal with.
That date's always a huge hit. I know we missed it for a few years, but it's good to have it back.
And just to reiterate for those who may have missed the last meeting, that the half days are split onto different days, partially because of the related service providers. And so that way kids aren't missing the same specials or same related services by having half days on the same day of the week every month.
Thank you for
Great
noting
point.
that.
Mhm. Okay, so does anyone have any other questions or concerns? So would anyone like to make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 school calendar as presented?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So next up, we have the report of the Assistant Superintendent of Schools.
I can unmute myself. Thank you. I have a school building update with 3 items regarding 201 Glenowitz, the middle high school. And these are 2 of the 3 we've been talking about for a while, but I have some updates. So the first is the cracking of the tennis courts. So over the last, I think, 2 years, we've had many conversations. We've had with the contractors. We've had testing done to the substrate of the tennis courts to try to figure out what has caused the surface cracking on the tennis courts. And after much discussion and pushing, honestly, by us, the contractor has agreed to a 5-year warranty on the cracks. So for the next 5 years, starting in September, they'll be doing crack sealing and repainting of those areas on the tennis courts. Additionally, so you'll be able to see it, but it won't be, it'll also be painted over. Additionally, they'll be doing laser analysis of the tennis court surface to make sure that there's no heaving or sinking in those areas, because that was a question around how deep the cracks were and whether there was actual movement of the courts. And as of right now, there has not been any sinking or heaving, but rather surface cracking. So the first repair will be, we wanted to wait till, you can't do it when it's too cold. Then we have tennis season. So we'll be doing it, it's actually scheduled for the 2nd week in September. And the courts will be out of commission for, I think it's 4 days while they do that. And then they'll be doing that every year for the next 5 years.
What happens after the 5 years, though? Will we be responsible for continuing that?
So that's a great question. The expected life of a tennis court is actually 10 years, and that will be at year 9 on that. So there'll be maintenance that will have to be done on a tennis court anyways. You know, they say 10 years. I think Rich Bykowski, who is a tennis player, will attest to the fact that very few tennis courts get replaced after 10 years. You start doing additional kinds of repairs on it to keep the life of the court longer than that. Great question. The second, I think, is another issue that a lot of people have been asking about, and that's what's going on with the southeast grass field. So we have 2 grass fields and the 2 turf fields. So we have the grass field that's directly in front of the building, and then we have the grass field that was seeded last on the side of the building, the southeast field. To say that we've been disappointed with the grass growth in that field would be an understatement. We have been working again with the contractor and with the landscape contractor over the last 2 years to continually slice seed and fertilize, and they have done that. And the town also has contracted to have the fields, all the fields, fertilized. However, the fields are not where we want them to be, and there's questions about why. And so we are continuing to work with both our contractor and, more importantly, our landscape architect to come to what we can do to get those fields into a playing condition. Right now, it's felt that they're actually unsafe to play on, because if you look closely, the grass is tufted. So there's like a thing of grass here, and then there's dirt, and then another piece of grass here. So it is a tripping hazard. So they have recently reseeded. We have seen some slice seeded. We have seen some growth. And that's why we've kept anyone off those fields, because when you reseed, you don't want people running around on them. So we are engaged with our landscape architects to come up with a more long-term solution to get that field into a playing condition, hopefully by next year. So there will be some more conversation about that, around what that will be as a solution. But I wanted to give you an update on why we're not on it, why we're not playing on it, and to assure you that we're not happy with the condition of that field either.
Can I ask you a question? As far as they're supposed to be soccer fields, correct?
Yep.
Both fields, the one in the front and the one on the side. So eventually, will there be lines through the fields like a soccer field would be?
The intention was to be multiple purpose playing fields, so they could be whatever people want to use them for. Could be, any sport on grass.
So if so little kids, if they were going to have a game there, would somebody spray lines?
If needed, that's something that could happen. That's not, one of the plannings to turn them into like a permanent, like soccer or lacrosse or any, just sort of, like the way we were there last night at town meeting. The intention was, you saw the soccer drills going on out there, small games. That doesn't mean that at some point somebody couldn't decide to line them. They could not, again, we have the option to do that in the future if that's something that, should be done and needs to be done.
Thank you.
Sorry, Felicia. Sorry, maybe I should have just not talked.
It's okay. The last is like the best news of all, and that is through the help of our owner's project manager, Mary Mahoney, and Sarah Gainey, who's the school department accountant, and myself, we have finally submitted all of our paperwork and closeout documents to MSBA to begin the final audit process to close out the project with MSBA, which means that we have no outstanding issues with the contract. There's a problem with the field, but there's no problems with we've come to warranty agreements, and if we haven't, then it's being dealt with outside of the contract. And so everything has gone into MSBA. Now they begin their audit process. When we submitted what we've spent on the project to MSBA, we would get approximately 50% back, and they are 45% back. They held back 5% for the final audit. So they'll be going through our final audit. I'm very confident that we'll be in very good shape once they complete our audit, and then it gets closed out with the School Building Authority board, and Abington gets their final check. So that is anticipated to happen in the fall, because we have to wait for a board meeting. And I think it's also important to note that we anticipate that we will have come in about $1 million under budget. So there'll be about $1 million that we didn't use of what had been allocated to the building project.
And what happens?
So it's not money that was ever given to us to spend.
Okay.
It was money that was allocated. So $96 million was the total project cost, plus or minus a little bit of money. And then, but we believe, and when all is said and done, we're going to have spent about $95 million. So it'll be less money that the town would have to borrow, or that would be taxed.
So you're right. Sorry, there's less money that the taxpayers have to pay off in a bond.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
We can't give it to the fire department.
Yeah.
Come on now. Felicia, can I just say thank you? Thank you. You have worked tirelessly, especially the little things that, the tennis courts, all of that. I've always maintained you're a superhero and a rock star. You know that.
Okay.
But thank you for all you have done, because once we got kids in the building, people forgot, I think, that there was still a ton that had to be done, and you've done it, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Heidi. It really, you know, we have an amazing team in Abington, and there are a lot of people behind the scenes making sure everything got done. But thank you.
All good news. So thank you very much, Felicia. So our next school committee meeting will be Tuesday, June 22nd. And there's some informational items, Peter, that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, as long as we're saying nice things to Felicia. Under informational, you know, it's certainly awesome to get compliments, especially from your professional organization, and that's MASBO, Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials. In your packet, you've got a press release from MASBO that recognizes her as a friend of MASBO, Felicia Michella, and it reads, Assistant Superintendent, Abington Public Schools, for spearheading the efforts of many districts in negotiations with prominent transportation vendors to achieve a fair and reasonable compensation agreement that partnered towns and districts with the vendor to ensure the continued cost-effective transportation of students, which is essential for so many students and families. So during the pandemic, Felicia helped a couple of dozen districts, Felicia?
It was in this fall, I think it was 48 districts.
Come up with a settlement with transportation providers. And that's appreciated by those districts and certainly by Abington. So there's also
a lot of work. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you.
Anticipated school committee meetings for the coming year. The school committee subcommittee structure, which you gave to us in the meetings, appreciate that. And then the schedule for department heads and directors coming next year to provide different presentations on sort of the state of the department in terms of education, the goings on by department. And
can I ask a question about the school committee calendar? Yeah. Do you anticipate, you know, so obviously as things start to open up and, you know, recommendations change, I would guess that there's going to be have to be more talk about how September is going to look. So will there be additional school committee meetings in the summer to kind of talk about masks and all that stuff as more recommendations come out?
There potentially could be. And okay. So if there are curveballs, that's, I'm glad you said that, because that's, you know, that's what we did throughout the pandemic. I think we met about every 2 weeks.
Last summer, yeah, a lot.
Everything was coming out so quickly.
Okay.
So there's certainly the potential for that.
Okay.
But there's still some unknowns. Yep. And I'm asked all the time, how do I think we're going to return? And I just don't know. And I think I'm smart to say that rather than pretend I do know.
Thanks.
Good question. Yeah, thank you. And that's what I have for you under informational.
Perfect, thank you. So next up we have just the dates to remember. Monday, May 31st, being Memorial Day, all school buildings and offices are closed. Tuesday, June 1st is the Green Wave Boosters meeting, which would probably be at 7 p.m. Thursday, June 3rd is the senior class reception at Riley Field at 7 p.m. Friday, June 4th is the senior awards at the Abington High School front lawn at 6 p.m. And at Saturday, June 5th is the Abington High School graduation at the Abington High School front lawn at 10 a.m. And Tuesday, June 22nd is our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting at 7 p.m. Hopefully that will be in person. So if there's nothing else, I ask that we're going to executive session for the purpose of discussing collective and non-collective bargaining parameters and not return to public session. If anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It was nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming. Thanks for all you do. We appreciate it. There's another meeting link for everyone to go on to next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you in a minute.